In this lecture, we'll be taking a look at how we can pass arguments to a function, what are default arguments in a function, and what is call by value and call by reference when we talk about functions. So the first thing is passing arguments to a function. Over here you can see we have this main method which is calling greet method. Now greet is actually having one argument, that's an integer value, and here you can see that to receive that value we have a variable called n as function argument for the greet method. Now if I want to pass multiple arguments, I can do that by simply separating them with comma. For instance, here I have 3 parameters now, and the function must accept 3 parameters. If I try to run this right away, I'll be getting errors over here that takes 1 positional argument but 3 were given. So we have to kind of provide multiple arguments over here. Now if I run this, you'll notice it executes properly. So there are scenarios where you don't expect any value, but you cannot go ahead and modify the function altogether. So what you do is make use of default parameters. For instance, if you do not want to pass 12 and 13 and just want to pass 5, what you can do is you can assign some default values to these parameters. So the convention is whenever you are making use of default parameters, there should be the one at the end. So here you can see n is not a default parameter, so we have it at the first place, and then o and p are default parameters, so we are having it after the non-default variable. So I cannot have something of this sort. So if I have to have default variables, they need to be mentioned in the end. Now here you can see I am just having one variable, and here 2 of them are having default values. So running this will give you the output high 5. So that was how to pass arguments to a function, how to create default arguments. Now let's talk about call by value. So here you have noticed that I have passed this value 5, and when I'm printing it inside the greet method, I get this high 5. Now if I go ahead and print it over here, the same line, instead of n, I'll be just assigning this value. Let's say x is equal to 5, and then I'll be passing this x over here and the same x over here as well. Now let's run this. You'll notice at both the places it says high 5, high 5. And if I try to get the ID of this variable, and if I try to get the ID of variable n over here inside the greet method, you'll notice both of them are same. There you go. Now if I go ahead inside the greet method and change the value of n to, let's say, 2, and then run this, now you can see that these two IDs are different, and the value inside the greet method for n says high 2, and one over here says high 5. You'll notice the same value x was passed to this function greet, and later on it was changed to 2. So ideally it should have printed 2 at both the places after the greet method got executed, here as well as inside the greet method, but it's not doing so. The reason behind this is that integers are immutable in Python. So whenever you are creating a new assignment over here for a variable n, it will be assigned a new object altogether, and that's the reason why you're having a new ID, and that is why it's printing 2 over here and 5 over here. And that is what we call by value, because the value is being passed to this method greet for immutable data types. Now if I go with mutable data types, for instance lists, so let's create one over here. Instead of, let's say, have a list over here and assign it to value 9, then go ahead and assign the same value to a variable y, and then try updating the value of y at index position 0 to something, let's say 5. And here let's print that value of x as well as y. So I'll be commenting this over here, and this as well. And now all I need to do is print the value of x and y. So here you can see x, and then here let's print y. And now if I run this, you can see for both x as well as for y, it is printing 5. And even if I pass this value over here, it will do the same. So let's do that now. I'll be commenting this and commenting this as well, commenting this. Let's call greet method, and after that call x. So here you can see x is this as a list, and I'm passing it for n and making it 2. So I'll just say at index position 0, and let's comment the ID of this. Now when I'll say print hi x, it will print 2, and here also it will print 2. Let's do that now. There you go, you can see it's printing 2 at both the places. And if I now print the ID of n and ID of x, you will notice these are the same IDs. And there you go. So mutable objects like lists over here are called by reference, and immutable ones are called by value. We just saw that in the example over here.